Good morning, everyone. It is March 30th, 2019. I'm Eric. Our first two today is what we will be covering on that, and then we have three over here. So, let's get started. In the land of the free, parents don't even have the right to decide what shit will be put in their children's bodies. This happened, unvaccinated children torn from parents in horrifying late-night SWAT raid. Now they're using SWAT teams on unvaccinated children, or their families, rather. If you care about parental rights, this story will piss you off. On February 25th, a pregnant mother took her 2-year-old son to Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine Clinic in Tempe, Arizona, because he had a fever of over 100. The doctor instructed the mother to take him to the emergency room because he is unvaccinated and she feared he could have meningitis. Okay, so what happened here is the little boy ended up starting to feel better, so the mother delayed taking the child to the emergency room. The doctor called the emergency room at Banner Cardin Children's Medical Center in Mesa, Arizona, to let them know the boy would be arriving. But after leaving the doctor's office, the boy showed signs of improvement. He was laughing and playing with his siblings, and his temperature moved closer to normal. Around 6:30 p.m., the mother called the doctor and let her know the toddler no longer had a fever and she would not be taking him to the emergency room. In Arizona, parents may decline vaccinations for their child based on personal, religious, or medical exemptions, but the mother was still concerned that the Arizona Department of Child Safety would come after her. One can't blame her for being afraid, as unvaccinated families have been targets of dystopian crackdowns and witch hunts of late. The doctor assured her DCS would not come after her. According to police records, the mother then agreed to take her son to the hospital. This is when things took a particularly nasty turn, reports AZ Central. About 3 hours later, the hospital contacted the doctor to advise her that the child had not shown up and the mother wasn't answering her phone, according to police records. The doctor contacted DCS. A DCS caseworker called Chandler Police and requested officers to check the welfare of a 2-year-old infant, according to police records. A caseworker said he was on his way to the house. It was about 10:30 p.m. when 2 police officers knocked on the family's door. The officers heard someone coughing. Officer Tyler Cascio wrote in a police report that he knocked on the door several times, but no one answered. And by the way, if cops knock on your door, you're not obligated to answer that damn door for them. The police then asked a neighbor to call the mother to let her know they wanted to speak to her. Meanwhile, the boy's father contacted the police. Police dispatch told officers that a man at the home had called requesting that they call him. They called, and the man identified himself as the sick boy's father. The officer said they told the father they needed to enter the home for DCS to check on the child. The father refused, explaining that his son's fever broke and he was fine, according to police records. Now, it should have ended right there, but it didn't. This is when things escalated. Despite the father's attempt to assure police his child was fine, things escalated. The caseworker informed officers that DCS planned to obtain a temporary custody notice from a judge to remove the child for emergency medical aid. Officers then consulted with Police Criminal Investigation Bureau and SWAT. Yes, you heard that correctly. SWAT. It was outrageous and terrifying. After 1 a.m., officers kicked down the family's door. One officer carried a shield, while another was described as having lethal coverage. Officers pointing guns yelled Chandler Police Department and entered the house. The father came to the door. Officers placed him in handcuffs and took him and the mother outside. Neither of the parents were arrested. Officials took all three children to Banner Cardin Medical Center. Now, authorities took the children under the guise of caring about their well-being. The fact that armed strangers snatching children away from their parents and siblings in the middle of the night could be, I don't know, traumatic. And they didn't even think of those consequences, did they? See, that's what being a parent looks like in police state America. Land of the slave, or what is it? Home of the slave, or land of the free, home of the slave. That's what it is. And you can expect to see a lot more of that shit going on. Victims of FBI subversion now embrace America's secret police. And that's a fine example of Stockholm Syndrome. This is from Kurt Nemo. It shouldn't come as a surprise. The FBI and DOJ obstructed justice last year when acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe told the House Intelligence Committee to pound sand after Republicans demanded he hand over work-related texts. The obstruction of justice, however, is a trivial matter for the FBI. It has engaged in criminal activity for decades. And it has, going all the way back to, what was that dude's name? Oh, his name's right at the tip of my tongue, but he was the FBI director that liked to cross-dress and do all kinds of crazy shit. It seemed like I'd entered in a new dimension within bizarro Landreth when Democrats suddenly became defenders of the agency. Liberals and leftists, especially those in the civil rights movement, and actively opposed the Vietnam War, were targeted by the FBI and its Operation COINTELPRO in the 1960s and 70s. Many of those targeted activists ended up in government and in the ivory towers of academia. So all these people that back in the day, J. Edgar Hoover is who I was talking about. Now they suck the ass of the FBI. Likewise, the Grand Inquisitor Robert Mueller, he was FBI boss during the Bush and Obama administrations. He is a consummate insider. His mission as special prosecutor is to protect the establishment, the so-called deep state. I can only conclude Democrats are either 1, suffering from a special kind of amnesia, or 2, they're so ethically and morally bankrupt that they will buddy up to an agency that seriously violated their rights in order to accomplish the current objective, the impeachment and total destruction of Donald Trump. And of course, I disagree with this. I don't think they were trying to actually destroy Donald Trump. If they were, they would have focused on something they knew he was guilty of. You know, like colluding with Israel, like being a pedophile. So all these people, they were once enemies to the FBI, and now they enjoy a close relationship where the FBI does their bidding for them. Sounds fair, right? And meanwhile, the FBI is looking into anyone who's a white nationalist. You don't even have to be a racist, just a white nationalist. Meaning, if you're white and you're a nationalist, you're going to have some problems with the FBI. So there's that. And this is on shtfplan.com. Over here at the Free Thought Project, state upholds law that men can rape women if they withdraw consent after sex begins. If a woman tells you to stop, whether you've begun screwing or not, you should stop. And if you don't, you're a creep. You're an asshole. And you don't deserve to be getting laid. Cops taser naked man in the back as he walks away, falsely claims he advanced at them. Do they ever tell the truth? Ever? I would probably argue that no, they do not. And this is the one on here I'm going to cover. You have no jurisdiction over me. U.S. citizen owns officers, shuts down arrest by knowing the law. This one comes from Matt Argist. This happened in Albany, New York. Brian McCormick is the executive director of the Columbia County Sanctuary Movement, which has led him on a journey of learning immigration law. This journey came to a head earlier this month when McCormick was filmed thwarting an immigration and customs enforcement officer's attempt to circumvent the Constitution and make an arrest. On March 5th, while McCormick was helping 2 immigrants with their legal cases, an ICE officer approached him and tried to arrest his clients. However, the officer would quickly realize the power a citizen has when they know the law. As the video begins, McCormick is debating the law with the ICE officer in Hudson, New York, outside of the courtroom in which McCormick has been helping the 2 immigrants. The officer tries to say that he has a lawful warrant to arrest the 2 individuals in McCormick's vehicle. The officer asks McCormick if he's familiar with a part of the immigration law that makes it illegal to harbor and transport illegal aliens, and likely wasn't expecting the response he received. McCormick proceeded to school the officer in constitutional law and noted that the warrant the officer had was administrative and not signed by a judge, meaning it was not constitutionally legal to enforce. The attorney was doing his job, but and the immigrants were going through legal, the legal process of becoming a citizen, so there was really no reason for that dickhead ICE officer to be messing with them in the first place. Not that I have any love for these immigrants, but, fair is fair, right? So I'll try to find a second one today. I'm not sure what that will be, but I will try to find a second one, and it will be this afternoon that I make it. I hope you all have a good morning. Kill the state, live free.